Hello, and welcome to Celebrate Those Who Give Black, a wonderful exhibition that had its origins at the Cleveland History Center of the Western Reserve Historical Society and has now found a new home in the Andrew Venable Jr. Visitor Center at Cleveland Public Library, the People's University. Today, we'd like to do a quick survey of approximately 100 years of philanthropy in Black America. So I'd like to invite you to go with me, please, to the turn of the 20th century and look at some of the most significant examples that are recorded in all of the wonderful books here at Cleveland Public Library and show us just how generous Black people have been over the last 100 years. Black churches in America are very familiar institutions. In fact, we have only to go back to the origins of the African Methodist Episcopal Church at the end of the 18th century to know that religious leaders have been among the most generous of the Black philanthropists. So we shouldn't be surprised then to see that the Reverend Richard Gibson, a religious leader here in the city of Cleveland and the pastor of the Elizabeth Baptist Church, is one of those individuals who believes in giving back and giving Black. If we move through the 20th century, in those early years, we're also going to encounter people like William Edward Burghardt Du Bois, one of the charter members of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, who was a great educator, the first African American to earn a PhD from Harvard University, and one of the most prolific historians that this country has ever produced. It was through his work with the NAACP, however, that Dr. William Edward Burghardt Du Bois was perhaps most generous in giving of his time and his talent as the editor of The Crisis magazine for more than 2 decades. One of the other contemporaries who worked sometimes with Dr. Du Bois and sometimes against him when they couldn't agree was Booker Taliaferro Washington, who was the founding principal of Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University in Alabama. Through historically Black colleges, Blacks have also had the opportunity to give back and give Black. Among the other people who had an opportunity to work with Booker T. Washington for a time is Madam C.J. Walker, who is known as being the first self-made millionaire in the United States among Black women. She was a great entrepreneur and specialized in women's hair care products, but also very generous in supporting especially educational activities in the United States. If we move forward through the 20th century and to the era of the modern civil rights movement, we're going to meet people like Septima Clark, who's not quite as well known as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who for many was the moral voice of the civil rights movement, but certainly Septima Clark is someone who worked with the freedom schools, trying very hard to make sure that those citizens in the rural South especially had the literacy skills that were required of them so that they could exercise their constitutional right to vote. Septima Clark, a very generous philanthropist then, in the middle of the 20th century. And then if we get a little closer to the present, just after the heyday of the civil rights movement, which for many people ended in 1968 with the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we're going to encounter those people who are especially active in working with Lou Rawls and other celebrities in supporting the United Negro College Fund. For those people who have knowledge to give, there are certainly many people on college campuses across the country who welcome the opportunity to learn from them. And then if we make our way to America's North Coast, here in the city of Cleveland, we'll meet some of the incredible people who had the opportunity to work with the United Black Fund. Certainly people like Ruby Terry are part of this exhibit, but there are some people who just contribute to the fund, and very often their names are unknown to us. But we want to, in celebrating those who give Black, take the time to acknowledge the ones who give perhaps sometimes anonymously, but make a world of difference in the lives of the people who are the recipients of their generosity. Certainly, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention the name of Mr. Robert Prince Madison. In addition to being a brilliant architect, Mr. Madison is also a very generous philanthropist who is known for his support of arts and humanities activities here in the city of Cleveland, and also for the establishment of a scholarship fund at the Cleveland Foundation to support the educational activities of those young people in the city who aspire to follow their dreams and pursue architecture, just as he did many years ago when he graduated from East Technical High School. I would also like to mention the name of Ms. Jan Ridgeway, a longtime staff member here at Cleveland Public Library, for the work that she continues to do in the wake of her retirement from the library in reaching out to people in the community, especially on the east side of Cleveland at the Garden Valley Neighborhood House. In conclusion, I'd like to say a special thank you to Ms. Valeda Fullwood and Mr. Charles W. Thomas Jr. for their visionary leadership in Black philanthropic circles, and also for making possible the publication of Giving Back, the beautiful book that inspired the Soul of Philanthropy traveling exhibition, and also served to inspire those individuals who served on the planning committee for the Soul of Philanthropy here in Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you so much again for your leadership, and thanks to everyone who contributed to the successful launch of Celebrate Those Who Give Black.